All right, let's do this. So, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Hook the Line. Today is week 11 picks day. It is Friday, so we are back in somehow, some way. We both are not wearing football attire, wearing hockey attire, and this was not planned, I swear. So,
That was actually incredible. Joined our podcast in a Rangers jersey for the first time since probably 2017, and look at my screen, and he's in a Jets jersey. So
yeah.
maybe good vibes. Who knows? I don't know.
Do they
I
play
need
tonight? Do the Rangers play tonight?
Rangers do play tonight, and that was my thought process going into my closet and grabbing it. I was like, all right, these guys kind of need my help. It's a weird season, last in the Metro. We're like haven't won a game at home, but we've won almost every game on the road. It's really weird. Um, they should be winning, playing good fundamental hockey, but the results aren't coming. So they'll turn it around eventually. But I figure that's why I throw it on.
Yep, yep. Yeah. Late night. Jets play tonight. Play the Sharks, so hopefully another win. Good luck to both
Oh
those
yeah,
teams. But we're not here to talk about hockey. We're here to talk about football. So week 11 of the college football season, we're getting to the have to have it games. We're getting towards the end of the season. College playoff picture. The first prediction bracket came out. I don't know if you saw that. Got a chance to look at that on the show.
yep. Crazy. Crazy that Loki it flew by. I can't believe it's already like happening. And then the really thing that stuck out to me was seeing Virginia in there. Obviously, you have to have an ACC team in there. It just, I went down this rabbit hole of like, who's going to win that conference, right? So, like, you got Duke, you got UVA, Miami's off the table. We can talk about that, but that's just incredible to me. I remember I was bashing Carson Beck a long time ago, and looks like I was right, even though I was like, had to apologize to him because of FSU, but I don't know why I did because FSU's terrible. And now they're not even going to probably be in the playoff at all, which is insane and honestly really hilarious for me because I hate Carson Beck. You know this. That's my main takeaway: is who's gonna represent the ACC in the playoff, who's gonna win that conference overall, and yeah,
Yeah, so I mean, crazy that that's already out, that that's here. We've only got a couple more weeks before conference championships as well and rivalry week. So a lot of big matchups coming up. A lot of teams that need to win games now. A lot of teams that have their own destiny in their hands, and then some teams that need some help from others. So today on this episode, we're going to talk about three marquee games. Normally we do four or five. This week is a really weird week because on paper it would have normally looked like maybe one of the best weeks of college football going into the season. You have LSU on the road at Alabama. You have IU on the road at Penn State. You've got some really, really big matchups that now just don't seem. You got Florida State, Clemson. I mean, at the beginning of the season this week looked loaded with matchups. And now we're sitting here and there's only three ranked matchups, which are the ones that we're going to talk about. So we're going to have Texas A&M at Missouri. We're going to have Oregon at Iowa. Really weird game there as well. Iowa still in that picture somehow. And then the college game day, game of the week, BYU at Texas Tech for that open Big 12 race to see if somebody can finally solidify themselves. So we'll talk about that. But first and foremost, we're not going to do catch and release today. We normally do that segment. We have our blanket statements. We talk about it. We're going to do something a little different. I have a wheel that I will pull up here.
here we go. I mean, I haven't even seen this wheel debut in a new segment. Gotta love it.
All
Uh
right.
oh, what's
So
going on? Oh snap!
ignore the
All right, you
ad.
want to explain the wheel? What are we
All right.
looking at
So
here?
so we've just got some teams here. And actually, before I explain the wheel, I'll let you take a guess at what these teams kind of either have in common or what's the little factor
What's
that
the common theme here?
yeah,
Um, it's gonna look like, if I had to guess, fringe playoff teams is probably what I'm looking at here. Got to be something about like being in or out. That's my guess.
Yep. Yep. You're exactly right in that. So this is going to be contenders versus pretenders. This is a wheel that I made with a bunch of teams that I think, you look around the country, there's people arguing that some of these teams are fraudulent. There's people arguing that some of these teams can make a run at a national championship. So these are the teams that are on here. So if you qualified to make the wheel, some people are going to be insulted. Probably most notably Oregon fans and Ole Miss fans will probably be a little bit insulted, and maybe Texas Tech fans. But you're in the Big 12, so shut up. And then
Zip it.
the people that are probably going to be happy about being on here, Virginia, whoever would have thought that they're in the picture now. Oklahoma still alive even after John Mateer broke his hand, and then Georgia Tech always happy to be a part of the picture. So we've got contenders versus pretenders. We're basically going to spin this wheel, and then you're going to have 60 seconds to tell me if that team is a contender for a national championship or a pretender for a national championship. And that can mean whatever you want it to mean, whether it's making a run in the playoffs, just being a serious contender in the football playoff picture as a whole.
Spin it. Let's go.
Oh, never
Let's
mind.
see it.
Okay, I understand what it does now. It pauses every time that happens. So,
Okay.
all right. So we've got the wheel up here. So contenders versus pretenders. Once again, sorry, I had some technical difficulties, so there might be some editing issues there. But we're gonna spin it 60 seconds to give your take. Let's go.
Dum, 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 dum. What we got? What we got? What we got? Ole Miss. Is that Ole Miss? All right, Ole
Ole Miss.
Miss. Great first one to get because I like this team. I mean, I was big on Chambliss. I know it kind of shocked you. Probably shocked a couple other people as well. That kid's been playing well. They've actually like surprised me. They have a weird one coming up this week, so we probably won't be able to see them. They're playing the Citadel. Can't believe the SEC does that, but um, they've been playing really well. The only loss they have is Georgia on the road. Chambliss played really well that game. They went on the road to Oklahoma, underdog, 5 points, took them down, and really just playing complimentary football all over the field. They're probably going to get in, which is the funniest part. And I think they have a good chance to win at least one game. They're going to have to probably. I think they might have to go on the road in that first round, but I mean, when you play on the road in the SEC, there's not much of a bigger stage in terms of regular season competition. So I'll say Ole Miss is a contender, and I think that they got a good football team.
Yeah, good head coach as well. So that always
Yeah, that too.
They are ranked number 6 right now, so they're the highest ranked team in this entire wheel. So that's funny that they were the first team landed on. I'm gonna agree, and that's gonna go against everything I've said for the last like 2 months, in that I am not a big Ole Miss fan, but um, they just don't have that hard of a schedule to end the year. They got the Citadel obviously this week, then they get Florida at home, then they go on the road to Mississippi State, obviously the Egg Bowl. But even if they lose that game, then maybe it's a conversation. But yeah, I think they're going to get in. It's just a question of what seed they are, and then can they win games? I think there's going to be teams that if they're a high enough seed, they're going to get to play a lower seed, and I think they can get a win. I think if you now match them up against Alabama, if we're talking about the top four, and you're talking about Texas A&M, Ohio State, Indiana, and Alabama. Then it becomes a little difficult, but I do think they can contend with those teams. So I'm going to put contender as well. And yeah, Chambliss has surprised me. So respect
Yeah,
to,
so right now they would be lined up to play Virginia, right, in the first round. I think this is what came out. And I mean, I'm taking Ole Miss all day in that game. So
yep.
first round, I like their chances. When it comes to that second round and those better teams, like you mentioned, maybe they get Ohio State, Indiana, Texas A&M, right? That'll be more of an interesting test for them, but they're going to be in the conversation. So
Yeah. All right. Well, so we'll do two more spins and then we'll move away from the segment. So, all right, here goes the second spin. So contender for Ole Miss.
oh,
Just gonna hang on there.
Georgia Tech.
All right.
You're a big Georgia Tech fan, so I'll let you take this. You take the lead here.
Yeah, I mean they're right here in my backyard in Atlanta, so I got to be somewhat of a Georgia Tech supporter. They've also struggled for a lot of years, so it's good to see them up there. I really like Brent King, and if you or not Brent Key, and if you've watched the podcast for a while, you know I love Haynes King. So, um, but it's difficult because Georgia Tech really, when you look at the games they've played, so I'm going to pull up their schedule here in a second. But if you look at the games they played, they don't have really standout wins. where they've gone and they've really played good teams. Yes, they beat Clemson, but now Clemson is 3-5 and has really struggled. They beat Duke, and Duke is not even a ranked team right now. They're not good. So the ACC is very weird in that it's hard to decide if people are for real or not until they go outside of the ACC and play. We're going to learn a lot about this football team against Georgia or for Georgia and Georgia Tech at the end of the year. Um, but for now, I strictly believe that any team that has Haynes King as their quarterback is going to be a contender to win any football game day in, day out. Now, this team, I don't think has the athletes to compete with some of these higher level teams, but I think there's just something about them. I think they're a smart football team. I don't think they beat themselves, and I think Haynes King is a dog. So I'm going to give them contender, but it's a very, very tight line, and I think that that Georgia game, if they get blown out, then we're going to have to remove them from the entire picture. So
Yeah, I like it. I'll say contender as well, but I when I say contender, I mean in terms of the ACC. I see this team playing in the ACC championship. They're going to have a really good shot at winning that game, and they control their own destiny. They get to unfortunately they get to play Georgia at the end of the year, but it might be a good thing for them, right? Even if they do lose, right? You go into the ACC championship if you get there upset, or you set the stage for maybe a college football playoff appearance. I know you spoke to maybe them having a little bit of a lesser powerhouse of a roster. Just accurate. It's just factual. So in terms of an at-large bid, I don't know if they're gonna be able to take down some of these premier defenses, but with a quarterback like Haynes King and all that he brings to the table, he's really hard to prepare for. So anything can happen, especially when it comes down to one game. Um, in terms of a long run in the playoff, probably not, but he gives you a chance to win one game at a time. So
yeah.
we'll go contender for now.
Yeah, no, I agree. So what they've got left on their schedule, they've got Boston College on the road. That should be a win. If they lose that, then everything we've said here doesn't matter.
Yeah,
And then they've got Pitt, which is actually lining up to be a pretty fun game. Pitt is 7-2, 24th in the country, but they're at home for that game. So I think if they win that and they get another ranked win, they head into Georgia and everything is to play for both those teams. So I think that'll be a really exciting matchup. Hopefully, Georgia Tech will be in the top 12 at that point. Georgia will obviously also be there. So really fun team. Rough loss against NC State this last week. But I think they were due to finally have a loss. They've gotten a bunch of wins and it's just hard to go undefeated. I mean, people take for granted, one loss team in college football now because there are teams like Ohio State, Indiana, but it's not common to go undefeated. Like it is very, very uncommon. So they were due a loss at some point. I'm surprised it came this late, to be honest, but I'm not surprised it happened. So hopefully they can bounce back from that.
yeah, agreed.
All right. Third and final spin. These are the teams we got left on the wheel. Anyone you particularly wanted to land on before we do this last spin?
Ooh. Um, I want to talk about either Texas or Notre Dame, to be honest with you, because those are probably the fringiest ones because they're not gonna get an auto bid. So, oh
You're
my
not.
gosh, what is this? Well, we're not going to talk about them, and we're going to talk about John Mateer in Oklahoma. And this one's pretty easy for me. Not going to lie, I don't know what it is about me and this football team, but I think they're as big of a pretender as there is. Um, Mateer, we talked about it like early on when we started this podcast. We were like, I don't know if I really see the hype behind it. Like I get, a Washington State transfer, comes in, beats Michigan, I guess, which was, I guess, impressive. Last week was impressive. I'll give them that. We pumped up that matchup against Tennessee, and they did their job. They went in and won. Um, but I really want to see them play this top tier of the SEC before I really, put a stamp on them being a powerhouse or somebody that's worth talking about.
They're about
They
to
have
this week or this next week.
they have Alabama next week after
Oh,
they're on bye this week and then they have Alabama.
yep.
So I think that's a game that'll tell us a bunch about what this team is made of. Um, And yeah, I really don't think that they're gonna get in and are worthy of it just because I mean, I don't know. I don't know what it is. I just don't think they deserve it over teams like, Ole Miss and right. It's gonna be hard for the committee to put in over like more than five SEC teams in a college football playoff because they can't win that. They can't win the SEC, so they're not going to get in. And it's hard to call them a contender if they're not even going to get a chance to, not even going to get a seat at the table. So
Yeah,
screw the
no,
Sooners,
I
pretenders.
I totally agree with you. Honestly, I agree with it's a pretender. I look at the wins that they have, and yes, Michigan's impressive. Auburn is not impressive. They just fired their coach, and then they played Kent State, South Carolina. That Tennessee win is very impressive. I was shocked that they actually won that game. But props to them. They got one. Other than that, you lose to Ole Miss, you lose to Texas in the Red River pretty badly at that. And now you've got Alabama, Missouri, and LSU to end the year. I don't see you winning all three of those games. So I'm putting pretender because one more loss for them completely eliminates that. That's three losses. So, and I think they'll pick up that third loss. And honestly, I think it comes next week at Alabama. So I don't see them really making it past the next week.
Yeah, I mean, Aguilar kind of gave them that win on a silver platter last week with the three turnovers. So
Yeah.
I want to see them play a team that doesn't beat themselves and then see how they handle it. Like Ole Miss, for example, Chambliss didn't beat himself, and they found a way to lose at home. I don't, whatever. Screw
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, so we've got seven teams left on here. We'll come back and we can do this wheel again if it's something you like. As we get closer, now that the playoff bracket is out there, we can do this wheel kind of whenever we see fit, and we can talk about some of these teams that are fringe because that is going to become a big thing: is who's on the bubble, who's the
Yeah.
first teams in, who are the first teams out, similar to March Madness in that way. Um, so it's just going to be a fun little topic to talk about, but that's going to conclude that for now. So we will head back to our normal, regularly scheduled content, and we'll jump right in to Deep Sea Dogs. If you guys have
Oh
been
yes,
watching,
sir.
you know this segment. It's probably has become maybe my favorite thing that we do. At Deep Sea Dogs, it just gives a chance to kind of reach down on the barrel, really have some cojones, and make a bold pick. So we love being bold here. So let's go ahead and hear your bold pick for the week.
So before we press record on the podcast, we hashed out a little bit, talked about whatever's on the mind, and I heard some rumblings over from my partner. He was like, I might change my DC dog. I might go in a different direction. I was like, oh shoot, I wonder what he's thinking. He's like, yeah, originally I had Wake Forest versus UVA, and I was like, no way, because that is my deep sea dog for the week. I think that UVA is as they were on that wheel too. That thing landed on UVA. You would have heard me stand up and say, those boys are pretenders. And I mean, I do not see them making, a lot of noise in at least even the ACC. I think they're due for a conference loss. They have Wake Forest this week, which is a weird one. The game's at 7 p.m. tomorrow.
Mhm.
So, like, a lot of people probably inclined to take, you know, a Cavaliers team at home that's been rolling, but I'm gonna go with Robbie Ashford, your former quarterback in Wake Forest, who's been a weird team this year. They have some weird losses, weird wins. They beat SMU. They lost to Florida State by a lot
A lot.
um, last week. So definitely a weird one. But all these weird upsets happen in the ACC, the Big 12, any other smaller conferences. You don't really see it from the SEC and the Big 10 as much this year for whatever reason. Um, so that's where I'm going to go. And if it's a deep sea dog, I'm all for it. We could be making history here. But that would just, put a lot of pressure on us to be right.
Wait.
So let me hear you.
Yeah, let's do it. I mean,
All
I'm
right.
totally in. Let's ride this because I agree. You hit the nail right on the head. This team is as much of a pretender as it comes. They have been actively trying to lose for the last 4 weeks in college football and somehow have not. Like, let me read out. So we've got they win at Louisville. Congratulations. Great win. They win by three. Next week, they play Washington State. They win by 2. Next week, they play UNC, your deep sea dog. They win by 1 in overtime. And then I don't know if you watched the Cal game because I had one of my best bets was Cal plus 5.5. Now that didn't hit because it was one of the worst bad beats I have ever watched. And I was actually sweating this out with one of our good friends, Nicholas Damiano. And it was 24-21, and Cal had the ball, a chance to go drive and win or tie the game, and about a minute left. So you're thinking, oh, the plus 5.5 is safe. Like I'm good. They might win outright. Oh my goodness. And then Cal throws a pick six to end the game, and they lose by 10. And so
Wow.
that's how my parlay got ripped into shreds last week. Broke my heart. I do not like this Virginia team now, partially because of that, partially because I think they are a pretender. And I think the ACC, I just don't see Virginia being that team to stand out in the ACC. I think right now they're standing on top of the mountain and they're looking around, they're being, what the hell is
How did
going
we get up here? Yeah,
like,
literally.
how
I
did this
don't know.
happen? Literally. So I think a Wake Forest team, embarrassing loss against Florida State. I think they're going to find a way to bounce back. You see it all the time where teams have really embarrassing results, come back the next week with a new attitude, kind of a slap in the face. And I think they're going to get it done versus a Virginia team that needs a loss. And their last 2 games are Duke and Virginia Tech. They need to lose now. And I think they're going to. So,
It's coming. It's coming. I know I rode with these voices as my first deep sea dog, right? So it hits home a little bit. But I faded them a few weeks back, brought me 5 points in the bucket, and we're running it back because this team, like you said, they're due. I mean, the conference loss is coming. We're praying that it's this week. They got Duke next week. So it's coming. When it comes, who knows what, but we're saying it's this week. So
yeah.
let's
No,
go
man.
Deeks.
Go Deeks.
Demon Deacons.
On the road, 7 p.m. Let's see one. Let's see a wild one.
Squad ride deep sea dog.
I love it. First
Let's
time,
see
first
it.
time in history. Mark it down. Now if it doesn't hit and Virginia blows them out, we're just going to cut this segment out of the entire.
That'll be it for deep sea
Oh,
dogs. Yeah, no, yeah. We'll do something else, no doubt.
so yeah. All right. With that being said, let's go into our marquee matchups. We got 3 ranked matchups this week, and like I said, what would have been a great slate has turned into still a good slate. College football is here, so always going to be fun. Playoff pictures around, always going to be interesting. But these are the ones that kind of hit the most in terms of playoff picture. So we'll go ahead and start in the SEC. Texas A&M on the road at Missouri. Texas A&M 8-0 and the front runner in the SEC right now. Absolutely insane that we'd be saying that. And then they're on the road at a Missouri team who just lost Bo Prabula, their starting quarterback. They've got their backup in there whose name is Matt Zollers. He's a freshman, and now he's got to go against Texas A&M, who looks like one of the hottest teams. Line is sitting at 6.5 A&M. 48.5 is the over under. Go ahead and give me your thoughts.
All right, I'm coming in hot with this one. All right, so I didn't speak about this to anybody, but I'm bringing it on here. Harry's hearing it for the first time. But if I'm an NFL GM and I'm sitting at the draft in my war room and there's a guy that I want, I think it's Marcel Reed. And if I'm the Dolphins, if I'm the Raiders, right, that's a guy I kind of want. And I don't know, this is very like hot take of me, but I don't know. He's giving me flashes of, not these are big names, but Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels,
That's the
and
one for.
he's getting better every week, and it's getting to the point where I'm like, how do you stop this guy? Because right, he's a weapon with his legs, right? Everybody knows that that's the focal point. That's what he brings to the table is his ability to be unpredictable in the run game, and it's shown. But him as a passer has kind of shocked me because he's gotten really good, right? So you can either drop back in zone and let him sit in the pocket, and right, like that's probably what you're going to do. and he's just going to slice you and dice you up. Or you can blitz him and either force him to use his legs or bring so much pressure that he can't even move. But he's going to throw a dart. So I'm really big on him. I don't know what, just from like watching him these past few weeks in these bigger games on the road at LSU, he played really well. And there's actually a good clip that shows why I think that. And everything that I've seen from top tier quarterbacks shows like that this is a good trait to have and could lead to some success down the line. All right, so this is their last game at LSU. I just had a really impressive performance, but this throw is kind of why I'm standing on business and riding this hot take. So right now you see, I mean, LSU is come out and saying, listen, we're going to blitz you right here. We're going to bring everyone but one is what's going to happen. And we're going to force you to make a play because it's 3rd and 8, right? It's early in the game, right? You want to get to the quarterback, make them fear your pass rush, right? Make them tremble back there in the pocket, right? And the best way to attack a quarterback like this is, contain on the outside and just bring pressure up the middle in his lap, right? Make him not be able to step into a throw and, get off the field on 3rd and long. And Marcel Reed is going to do the exact opposite, right? This guy gets a great jump off the edge, right? They bring pressure up the middle, right? Penetrate the quarterback, right? Put the running back in a tough situation, pass block, right? He's got pressure in his face, but he's going to deliver a strike to Concepcion, right? I feel like this is an easy pass to miss with a guy in your lap and a guy that's not even really seen as a passer, but right, he hits him like right on the face mask, right? And this player is a playmaker as well. This is a guy we should maybe be talking about more because this is a huge critical first down, and he gets even more than just the line to gain. So it's things like that where I think that he's developed so much as a quarterback and is someone to really think about in at an at large standpoint. Yeah, I don't know. I think he makes a really good prospect and is something to keep an eye on as the season progresses. Because if he's going to play on a national stage in a playoff game, I think he's going to get more eyes from NFL scouts. And I'm not going to lie, I like it. He's had some nice deep balls too, which is a big part of Jaden Daniels' game. Where that sets him apart. Last year, he had a bunch of huge throws to McLaurin that would break open games. Sucks that he's hurt, but he kind of reminds me a lot of him as a prospect. So I don't know. I'm taking a swing on him if I'm in a tough spot with a quarterback like Miami or Vegas. But in terms of this game, I know there's a lot of blabbing about him, Glaze, but Missouri's kind of in a tough spot. You lose your starting quarterback, just hurts, man. So they're kind of have a whole new identity on offense, right? So you're working around a bunch of different things, which is tough. And now you get probably the hottest team in the SEC coming to town and an offense that's really hard to prepare for. Like I just said, you can do one of two things. You can bring all up pressure or, sit back in the zone and play against him. But he's shown that he's able to slice and dice both. So they're actually a team to watch for me. Like when we do our playoff predictions, I mean, I'm high on this team. I wasn't so high on them, a few weeks back, but they've been playing well and they deserve some hype because they're a tough team to prepare for. And this is, another good test this week on the road. And the SEC is always hard. So I'm going Texas A&M. I think they win. I think that they win 28-20. I think the spread was like around 7-ish. I'll just say that they cover it by 8 points, just a singular point. I'm high. I mean, I don't need to beat a dead horse. I'm high on this team. Think they do well. We'll see how they close out the year.
How do you do this every time? The over under is 48.5, and you always seem to hit the nail like directly on the head of like whatever the number is minus the half. Um,
I don't know. I don't. Vegas is a smart. What they do over there, they crunch numbers, and they're usually good numbers for the most part, right? There's some outliers, but
oh yeah.
I gotta ride with them.
Oh, I see it. So that's just funny. Yeah, you said exactly what I was the direction I was gonna go. Marcel Reed. looks like an absolute playmaker. It's a shame we didn't talk about it. I know we mentioned his name in the quarterback video at the end. But what he's really done in the last couple of weeks, and I think it's kind of makes sense that we didn't talk about him then, because I think it's been the growth that I've seen the last few weeks from him. And like you said, like the decision making on his part of when to tuck the ball and run and when to throw. I think a lot of inexperienced quarterbacks, that clip that you just showed, they would immediately be looking to get outside the pocket. The pressure is immediately there. The guy gets a good jump off the edge. Immediately it's like, all right, how do I get out of this and buy myself more time? Somebody who is experienced, composed, and an NFL style player is going to sit in there just a second longer and wait and know that because all this pressure is coming, someone is going to be open. And he's very, very good at throwing from where the blitz came from, which is a key thing to do in the NFL. You're going to have to make decisions like that in the NFL, and you've got linebackers that are running 4.3 speed, so you have to diagnose where it's coming from, and you got to throw the ball from where the pressure is coming from most of the time. So I think he does a really good job in that. He's been amazing. And the weapons they have, you mentioned a little bit, Casey Concepcion and Mario Craver, two of the best wideouts. So that combined with a quarterback that's playing really good football, looks really, really confident as well. I think you don't see players stand in the pocket like that unless they are at the utmost confidence of either the offensive line or themselves or both, which seems like Texas A&M is right now. So just that win at LSU, 49 to whatever, 25, whatever it was, is an impressive win to say the least at night in Death Valley. I think they keep it rolling here against Missouri. I won't go too much into this. One thing I will say, Missouri is one of the top teams in the country in time of possession, and I think that is the only place where this game could potentially get a little dangerous. I think Missouri has a good defense. Zion Young, one of the best edge rushers in college football right now for Missouri, plays really well, number 9, if you get a chance to watch that game. So he's very, very good. And Missouri will bring pressure. They'll get to Marcel Reed. But what we just saw there is he can deal with it. But I do think they'll limit A&M's number of points. And then if they can establish the run and keep the ball and keep that time of possession chugging along, then, they have a chance. I just think it's going to be really hard with the freshman quarterback. I think if Bo Prabula was playing, that style of play would maybe combat Texas A&M really well. And I'd say, all right, they got a good chance to go in there and sneak out a low scoring win. But with the freshman quarterback, A&M's going to know you're not going to want to throw the ball. They're going to know that you want to run the ball. You're going to stack the box. So I just don't think it's a good matchup for Missouri. So as much as I like them, I like Eli Drinkowitz and I like that defense. I don't think they get it done. I have 27-17. I have A&M covering the 6.5, and I have it leaning the under. So same as you, you're just by a half point. Mine's by a couple more. So seems like we're on the same page with that. So 27-17, Texas A&M gets the win.
Yep. Yes, sir.
All right, so that game's at 3:30. We'll roll right into a game that is at the same time and a little bit of a weird one. Um, Oregon, number 9 in the country, is going on the road to play Iowa, 6-2, number 20 in the country. It is 6.5 Oregon, and the over/under is sitting at 42.5. Iowa, a very weird team to predict in any sort of scenario. They run the same game plan pretty much every year, but it still seems that they are very weird in every game they play. Oregon is in need of a big ranked win as they don't really have that now that Penn State has dropped out. Give me your thoughts.
I love the Iowa brand of football, man. I don't know what it is. Any old head or someone that really appreciates football can look at a team like the Iowa Hawkeyes and just love them. I mean, they'll bring in multiple tight ends. They'll run the ball up your throat. They'll go off the edge, right? They're really complete on like special teams. So they have a few good punt returns and things like that make differences in games. Their defense is really gritty. They got like guys that you don't really hear about, but they're problems, right? I mean, Cooper DeJean, right? The guys like that are hidden in that Iowa defense that may not have a name right now, but they're playmakers and they play well. But in terms of the offensive side of the ball, I really like their quarterback. I think his name's Gronowski, right? I think I'm saying that right. But he's a threat not only in the air but on his feet. He's got a lot of rushing touchdowns, so I think they use him a lot in the red zone. Um, but their smash mouth style of football is really going to be a tough test for Oregon, um, as a team that's looking to, get into the playoffs. Kind of a game they need. They played a weird one against Wisconsin last week. It was a lot. They were dealing with some rain. Dante didn't play there for a little bit, so this is a good test. But I'll talk about a little bit about the Iowa offense and why it's probably going to be probably the toughest test for Oregon. I mean, Penn State was a good offense at the time, but this is just another good look to show them to get ready for the multiple packages that they're probably going to see in the playoffs. All right, so this is Iowa football, right? You're going to bring in two tight ends, right? And you're gonna want to establish the run inside the tackles, right? That's what they do best. It's what they've been doing for years. Um, you establish the run up the middle to set up other things, and they use motions like this to create advantages not only in the pass game but in the run game, run fits as well. So this is kind of a linebacker's nightmare because these guys can throw you on your butt as much as these guys. So and they can also catch passes, which is a key part of why this is such a good offense and why it's had success and why they've been at least decent for years. So on this play particularly, um, right, in terms of if I'm a defensive linebacker, I'm thinking, all right, they got double tight left, so you got motions coming across. They might want to run play off the big guys on the end and kind of work this gap, right? And usually another point that I want to bring up is when they bring on two tight ends, you have to match that with your base defense. And when I say base defense, it means, right, you need to bring in your three linebackers, your four defensive linemen. So you're only can keep your four DBs on the field, right? So you're limiting the speed. And that's exactly how they're going to manipulate this defense. So they're going to bring in the motion on the left, right? They're going to make you think that they're working this way. You see a down block from all the linemen. Oh, down blocks from all the linemen. But their tight end's going to sneak out of here, and they're going to run what's called a naked, which just means the quarterback's going to be out here unprotected. And it really puts like I said, all these linebackers in a pickle because they're going to have to fill gaps in the run fit, and nobody's on these tight ends, right? This guy's going to have a chance at the quarterback, but look at how wide open these guys are. If he had time, he could hit him too, but he's wide open. That's an easy chunk play, right? Look at how wide open they are. And Granowski doesn't even make a good throw. Like this is just get it out there to him, get him in space. And then not to mention now you have two blockers out here. So pretty sure this ends up being a huge play, explosive play, and something that's really important for an Oregon defense that, needs to discipline themselves. Good ideas, but like I said, really big test for Oregon because Ohio State does a lot of that where they bring in two tight ends. They got our boy Max Clare from Purdue. Indiana runs more of 11 personnel, which is they don't do the two tight ends, but definitely SEC. You see that in the SEC with the double tight. So these are things you got to prepare for and you're going to see down the stretch. So I got Oregon in this one just because this is really must-win territory for them, and Iowa is not going to make any noise in terms of Big Ten chip national stage. Dan Lanning's going to have these boys playing hot, playing mad. It's going to be a good atmosphere too. I mean, playing in Kinnick is fun. Those fans get after it. Children's Hospital is a cool thing they do, and it's going to be kind of a night game because we're moving into daylight savings, so I think that second half will be a night game atmosphere, which is cool. But I mean, if we've seen the Ducks, they kind of thrive in those atmospheres. And look what they did to the poor whiteout. They fired James Franklin over it. So I'm going to Oregon, and I'm going 24-17. So a little bit of a low-scoring game. I think this game is going to be won in the trenches. I think Oregon has the advantage in the trenches, but it's going to be a gritty game that they need to win. And yeah, I think I'm probably right around the total there because that's kind of my thing. It's kind of my shtick. But if you're making my picks if you're riding my picks based on the total, just don't. It doesn't. I don't. Those things are there's too much variance there. So
Numbers.
just ride with the winners. I think Oregon gets it done and starts to get hot here at the back end of the season.
Yep.
Let me hear it.
All right. So yeah, you got Oregon 24-17. I like that. Yeah, the question obviously that exists is how many points can Iowa score? Uh, because so far when they've put up over 25, they've won. When they've put up under 20 against good teams, they've lost. I look at that Indiana game as a huge, huge factor. That game was in Iowa, and they probably played, I think, yeah, they definitely played IU the best of anybody that IU played all year. And it's because of that style that you touched on. And I do love Iowa football. They are number one in penalties. So they are the most disciplined team in college football. They don't beat themselves, which is a really, really important thing when you're trying to pull off an upset, especially against an Oregon team, is that you don't commit penalties against yourself. You don't turn the ball over. And that third phase of the game, which you kind of touched on, special teams, has to also win. And so I think they can win in special teams because of how disciplined they are, because of field position. And that third phase of the game, they're going to win. Now, the question is, can they win in offense and defense? I think their defense is very good, but they don't have the athletes that Oregon has. Oregon, if you are sitting there and you're Dan Lanning, you're like, we have to get these guys in space. We have to let Dante Moore and Decorian Moore out on the outside show off that they are high recruits that are more athletic than these guys that Iowa has running around the ball. They're going to be disciplined. They're going to be in the position they need to be, but it's going to be, can you make them miss when you get them in open space? Because if you can, you're going to be able to have a successful day, and Iowa's going to have to switch some things up. If you can't, then Iowa's going to start to win that time of possession, that battle that they have at the line of scrimmage. And the last thing is turnovers. Obviously, turnovers in every game are huge, but if Iowa cannot commit turnovers, I think they actually have a real shot to win this game. Against IU, they threw two interceptions and also had a turnover on downs. One of those interceptions being like the third play of the game. So if they can not do that, and if they didn't do that against IU, they might, who knows what would have happened, but they might have won that game. But they just started down 7-0, and then they threw another pick late in the game when it was 13-13, and then had a turnover on downs late in the game on one of their last drives. So um, I always got the pieces. They've shown they have the pieces to compete with anybody in the country, anybody in the Big Ten. So I'm actually going to take Iowa in this game. And a little bit of a surprise upset. I think being at home, I think the fundamental football, I think all of that stuff combined and being disciplined, all that is going to very much help Iowa. And so I have Iowa winning this game 20-17. I think 20 is the number. I think if they can get to 20 points, I think they can win this game. I could also see this game going to something like an overtime 20-20, in which I do think they lose. But if it turns into any bit of a scoring show, Oregon will win this game handily. So I've got 20-17. I'm taking the Iowa Hawkeyes to upset as 6.5 point underdogs against Oregon Ducks, and that is the under as well. So same as you.
Yeah, huge game for Dante. Forgot to mention, I don't love some of his decision making back there. You know, in terms of like maybe throwing the ball away, sack sometimes. You know, he's played tremendous competition. Penn State defense is, you know, not great, but you know that was a tough environment to play in, and you know a decent scheme. And then Indiana was a tough one too. They're probably they're probably the best coach team in the country, honestly. Like that defense, they played really well. They find a way to pressure you. So he's had some tough tests under his belt. So it's now it's about how do you respond, how do you deal with it, and this is a great way to show us. So
Yeah.
shocking pick with the upset, but I mean I would love to see it.
Yeah, I'm
Good for
going
the
I'm
game.
going bold. Money line going off at plus 200 right now. So I'm going bold with the Iowa upset. I just think that Iowa football is built to beat a team like Oregon that lives on explosive plays and mistakes. And if you're playing a team that doesn't have the athleticism but doesn't make mistakes, you really just need to play the same style with better athletes. And I think Oregon is much more of a win by explosiveness versus a win by fundamentals team.
Yep.
So that's why I'm taking Iowa in that. But even still, it would be a shocking upset. I do like the 6.5. I think that's a little bit of a high number for an Iowa team that's going to keep it close. I think if you're betting the other side of that, minus 6.5, it's really risky. Like I know you had Oregon winning by 7, but I think that's about the max it'll go. against an Iowa defense. So if you're looking for
Absolutely.
in this game, I think we both kind of agreed on this. The under, for me, Iowa football games, the under seem to have a great relationship. So
It's a trend for sure.
I
I
like
mean,
that. I'm excited to see the punter. I'm excited to see what Iowa's got cooking in the punter's locker, see if he can hit some coffin corner punts. So always exciting to throw on a new brand of football.
yeah, I'm a fan. I'll be tuned in for sure.
Yeah, I'll be tuned in. So that's at 3:30, same time as Texas A&M, Missouri. It is kind of fun what you mentioned with the night game potentially with daylight savings. So then we'll get to college game day. Last game of the slate for us of these three. I know there's a bunch of other games that we could cover, but these are the three that really helped the playoff picture. It's going to be number 8, BYU, undefeated 8-0 with a true freshman at quarterback, Bear Bachmeier, going on the road to Texas Tech, number 9 in the country, who currently has one loss, if I'm correct.
Yep.
Okay, one
My deep
loss.
sea, or that was my first lock of the week, baby. ASU, love it,
ASU.
baby.
Yes, you're right. So, yeah, BYU at Texas Tech, college game day. I think this game's being played around 11 a.m. though.
Oh, local time, yes, sir. Yeah,
Full time, 11 a.m. So that's going to be a crazy atmosphere. Spread is a massive for an 8-9 matchup, 10 and a half. And then the over under is 52 and a half. Go ahead and give me your thoughts.
yeah, that spread's interesting. I remember looking at that and being like, what the heck? Just because I mean BYU is undefeated. I don't know if Vegas loves them and their power ranking models or whatever they do back there, but um, I don't know. I like them. I mean, I think that they're a gritty football team. They kind of remind me in Iowa in terms of personnel. They have gritty guys you'll never really hear about. I mean, we didn't hear about Puka Nakua until he was in the NFL, but look at him now. So I mean, I like that roster. Um, I think they're going to be able to do some things that Texas Tech hasn't seen yet. But this Texas Tech defense is for real, man. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I think they have the sack leader on the year. I forget what's his name. I don't even know his name, but he's good. I know him.
David
Watched
Bailey.
him. Bailey. I knew it was Bailey. I just didn't know his first name, so I didn't want to look like an idiot. But there's an aspect of their defense that's just gonna simply win you football games over the long term, and it's the turnovers. I watched this team, and it's the amount of fumbles that they cause that's actually ridiculous. They're number one in the country. They're literally averaging one fumble lost a game, which is, if you're looking at like one score games, like that's insane. You're walking into a game against Texas Tech already with a turnover. Like that's just insane. They had like 3 last week. Um, I can just tell by the way that they play that it's coached. I can tell that they practice forcing fumbles, getting hands on the football, punching balls out, and down the stretch, like that's going to be really key for them to get extra possessions on offense, keep the ball out of the offense's hands, and it's going to add up. I have a clip here because they did a good job against Kansas State and Avery Johnson and took that game away from them just from forcing fumbles. And this clip isn't about him, but they have one of their Rodriguez. What's his name? Jacob Rodriguez. He has 7 forced fumbles this year. 7. That's insane. He's got one each of the last 3 games. Yeah, he's got most of them have come in the last 3 games. He has 5 in the last 3 games, bro. He'll just come up to the line and just literally sucker punch the football, and it'll go land right to the feet of the defender. But this is a clip. This is their other pressure they get on in the backfield on the quarterback because he's a linebacker, so he'll come up and ruin the play after the fact. But Avery Johnson's obviously this is like a 3rd and long, so he's going to try and get out of it, extend the play as long as he can, and try and move the sticks. But this is just the pressure that they get. This is a regular thing for them. They have really good pass rush. To get him out of the pocket, right? I mean, you can tell like right away that this is going to be a sack. He has to avoid his lineman and try to make a play. But I want you to watch this guy's right arm because this is really important, and maybe a good teaching point for the quarterbacks in BYU that are watching tape going into this week. You gotta tuck this ball because watch him, take his right arm and just go for the arm and just slap it down, and the ball's loose. And this is gonna end up being a scoop and score that seals the game for them. And that's just that little thing, that little technique, little teaching point wins them a football game because you could easily just wrap his legs here and bring him down and it be a sack, but it's the little extra effort to swipe the arm and make it really hard for him to secure the ball when he's running loose like that. It wins you a possession, and in this case, it gets you 6 points. So watch out for that. I think this is him. This is Rodriguez. I think he's 10. This guy's a psychopath. Watch out for him too. He's gonna straight up punch balls out tomorrow. Maybe you know what? I'm gonna find a clip right now. All right, people. Sorry, back. But this is the clip I wanted to show because I watched this game back and I was like, dude, this kid's a maniac. And here he is right here. But just watch the accuracy of this punch because like I've never seen anything like it. He's literally just going to straight up right hook this football, and I mean it's clearly out and an opportunity for his defense to pick it up. Just wanted to show it right there in case it happens tomorrow because
Wow.
it's an underappreciated part of their game that could make a difference tomorrow. Yeah, he's vicious. Um, I'm at a loss for words when I watch that because it scares me as somebody that used to be a carrier. But I'm gonna go with Texas Tech. I think that this is the will end up being the Big 12 champion. Maybe this is the first matchup of the Big 12 championship. Maybe we see these teams meet again later on in December. But I think that gets this one at home. I think that's a good spot for them. I think that they need to win more than BYU does, right? It's being a one-loss team versus an undefeated team at home on game day, which is fun. But I'm gonna go Texas Tech 35, BYU 28. So I think 10 and a half is a little disrespectful. Um, they were underdog to Iowa State too, so something's going on in Vegas with this BYU team. I don't know why, but I'll say that they get inside the number and make it at least competitive and probably a good watch to start the day tomorrow at noon. That's all I got.
So yeah, score one more time.
Tech winning 35 to 28.
35 to 28. So inside the number, you have
Yes.
that. 35 to 28. That is the over.
Yep. Big 12 overs, baby. Our boys mentioned it. It might be a system. It's a nice trend we got going on now.
Hey, and that's you're straying pretty far from the over under on that one too.
Uh,
So
Getting risky, people.
getting
Do
risky.
with it what you want.
All right, yeah, you touched on some points that I was going to talk about. So the D line of Texas Tech is kind of like my main factor in everything. They spent $7 million on the defensive line. I don't even know this is the most expensive single unit in college football. Is the Texas Tech defensive line, and that David Bailey guy who you mentioned is getting paid over $3 million. He got brought in from Stanford, and he originally was not taking calls from Texas Tech. I learned this all this morning, by the way. I did a little research
Here
history.
we go. Here we go.
Not was not taking calls from Stanford. The general manager at the time of Texas Tech said, "Give me 120 seconds and just hear me out, and then I'll leave you alone forever." Finally said, "All right, screw it." Picked up the phone, got offered over $3 million, and at the time was not getting any offers over like 1.5 coming from Stanford. He was getting 1 to 1.5, $3 million. Canceled all his other visits. Was on Texas Tech's campus pretty much 2 days after that, and then committed shortly thereafter because $3 million is a lot of money. And now he is the national sack leader at 11 and a half sacks, as you did mention. So this D line, they paid for it, they bought in, and it's paying off. It's paying off big. And you know what? I think that they are geniuses for that because the one thing that the Big 12 doesn't expect is someone to have a for real defense. And that's what Texas Tech said. They said, "What's this conference missing?" They're missing a stellar defense. No one knows how to prepare for a stellar defense, much less a stellar defensive line. Normally, it's just aerial attack, athletes. You're putting up 60 points a game. I mean, we talk about Big 12 overs. It's always been a thing that Big 12 scoring things are just absolute shootouts over and over again. Texas Tech is maybe the one team that plays a little bit opposite of that, to where they try to get turnovers, like you mentioned. They slow the game down defensively. They make you try to work for it. They're not going to give up those chunk plays, those explosive plays. They're going to make you grind it out against them. And if you try to run the ball, good luck. Their defensive line is $7 million. You try to throw the ball, good luck. Their defensive line is $7 million. So I see this going one way and one way over only, and that is Texas Tech. Bear Bachmeier, all respect to him, number 47. Big shout out to Bear, because no one expected BYU to be 8-0 and him to be carrying that team, especially after they lost their quarterback to start the year, who's now at Tulane. Um, but they get Texas Tech is getting their starter back. Will Hammond's out for the season. Baron Morton is finally coming back. And I look at this one of two ways because Baron Morton is good, but Will Hammond was playing amazing football for Texas Tech during that time that he was in there. And Baron Morton does turn the ball over a little bit. And while Texas Tech is high in turnover margin, and they definitely create a lot of turnovers, BYU doesn't give up a lot of turnovers on the other side of the ball. They are third nationally in turnover margin. So they're at about a plus like 1.4, which is really good. They've lost three fumbles, I will say. So more than maybe what you'd expect. So maybe they got to learn to hold on to that ball more. But they also create a good amount of turnovers. So that's the only way that I see BYU staying in this game is if they can pick Baron Morton off. He threw two picks when they played Utah and they still blew that game out by like 35-13. So BYU is really going to have to show up for this one. I'm kind of understanding as I looked more into the game why the spread is what it is and why it is so high. Because in order to beat Texas Tech, you need what Arizona State had, which is a Sam Levitt, Jordan Tyson, electric offense, Kenny Dillingham dialing it up. And I just don't think BYU has that. I think they're more of a fundamental team, and they also just play a clean game. But a clean game isn't going to work when you got a D line that's hunting you the way that these guys hunt. So I'm going Texas Tech to win. I'm taking them to win 33-20. So I have them covering the 10.5. I find it similar to last week. What was the big spread? There was a big one.
Utah.
Utah and what was the other? It was Utah. There was a 10.5 point spread.
Was it Cincy?
Utah and Cincy, yeah. And I took the opposite of that. I took Cincy to cover that 10.5. I actually took Cincy to outright win by 1 point. Clown show over here. Got embarrassed. I'm not doing that again this week. I'm trusting Vegas. I'm trusting what they know, and I'm trusting what I read about this morning about this D line. So, with that being said, I'm taking the minus 10.5, and then I'm taking the Big 12 over 52.5. If you're gonna set it under 60, I'm gonna start looking at it. So that's what I got in that game.
And that's the marquee matchups,
That
people.
is the marquee matchups. I think we are. Oh no, we're not. So you have, if we're just going winners, we both have Texas A&M. You have Oregon, I have Iowa, and then we both have Texas Tech.
Okay.
So
All
no
right.
experience in there. So you know, some
See
fun.
what happens. See what happens.
We'll see what happens. And then as you know, so that will move away from the marquee matchups. Those are gonna be a lot of fun to watch. There's gonna be some other ones that hopefully will get close. Hopefully IU at Penn State ends up being a little close. Hopefully LSU, Bama ends up being a little close. If you want to watch a preseason top 15 matchup, you can go turn on Clemson and FSU and just figure out who's going to get fired from that game alone. Because I think it's safe to say that that game they're coaching for their job. Do you think that would be safe? Like Jim, or not Jimbo Fisher, it's Mike Norvell and Dabo Sweeney are basically coaching to see who's going to be the big storyline of who's on the chopping block, maybe a little bit. So
Yeah.
then we'll move into best bets. I only have two written down today, so I'll go ahead into those. And I think everybody wants to know, is the lock coming out on the Twitter or is it coming out on the pod?
I'm spitting it on the pod. I'm honestly, torn because I work hard to bring people locks, and I haven't been able to produce results. We were on Tennessee last week, and 20. We just needed one field goal to go in, but they couldn't give me that. Aguilar just said, "No, Oklahoma, you have the ball. We don't need it, dude. You have it. No, no, it's really no. He sucks. Screw that guy." Um,
Yeah.
so we're bringing the heat this week, and if you want to set the table for me, or I can lead us off.
Yeah,
What,
I'm just gonna mention that you had that heartbreaker there, and then the one that broke my heart obviously was Cal, and the other one that I was sweating out was Georgia over 49 and a half, which I don't know if you watch the end of the Georgia Florida game. Here, I'll literally do like a little reenactment for you right now.
Oh, here we go. Here we go, people.
Hold on. So I'm gonna use
Let's see it. Let's see it.
a protein bottle as the football. And like that's the end zone right there.
Oh yeah, Gunner did take a knee.
Yeah, wide open, running the end zone, takes a
Right.
fucking knee, and it ends up being 44 points instead of 51 points. I get absolutely hosed. And
That was rough week for you last week. Jeez, I didn't even realize. I
rough,
apologize.
rough week. So
I,
we both
I
had rough
apologize.
weeks. We're bouncing back week 11 though. We're it's
Yes, sir.
so I'll set the table for you. Normally we go my best bets first and then your lock of the week, but I'm too excited to hear this. So go ahead, lay it out on the table.
All right. All right. I'm gonna get people. I'm gonna take care of people for the weekend because this is a college football podcast. But there were I spit a few. If you watch the whole pod, I spit a few little NFL little winners at the end there. I said Giants are somehow getting 3 point only 3 points against a playoff 49er team and Christian McCaffrey. I mean that was just you guys want free money like. And then Steelers, that was easy. People are all over Daniel Jones now. Trust me, I watched that guy for years. He's coming back down to earth. So on Sunday, I do like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to beat the New England Patriots. That's a good football game to watch. Todd Bowles is a good defensive coach. I think he throws a lot of stuff at Drake May that hasn't quite seen yet. And I think that the Bucks get rolling, and they're not going to have Bucky, they're not going to have Chris Godwin, so it'll be Rashad White and Buka and Tez Johnson. So people might be more inclined to side with Drake May, but I'm gonna go with the Bucks. I think that's a tough defense for him to play. But if we're sticking to the main best bet in college football on Saturday, it's quite easy for me to make this selection, and it kind of hurts me, but it also doesn't at the same time because this football team is absolutely atrocious, and they haven't really brought me any joy since 2021, and it's the Purdue Boilermakers to not score over 8.5 points against Ohio State. It's pretty simple. Um, we see what Purdue does against national champion level team level program, right? So if we look ahead, Purdue was fortunate enough to play two national championship teams last year in Notre Dame and Ohio State. Notre Dame came into West Lafayette and destroyed us 66-7. So we would have not covered there. And then we were fortunate enough to go on the road at the shoe and didn't get on the board at all. So we combined for 7 points against two football teams that
And
played.
Oregon, right?
We played Oregon. Yeah, I was just keeping to the national champion
Oh,
game.
yeah, no, you're
So
right.
like just
We
because
didn't
we
score a point against Oregon, so I just was
yeah,
throwing
that too. Great football team as
zero.
well. Obviously didn't lose last year, but Vegas has the line at 8.5
Wow.
for the Purdue Boilermakers to score against the best defense in the whole country, who actually had a really bad first half. Actually, they didn't really have a bad first half. They kind of got screwed with field position on the second touchdown. But I mean, they get a certified bye week going to West Lafayette and playing Ryan Brown and Purdue Boilermakers. I saw that kid partying. I saw that kid at Neon Cactus after our first game against Ball State, and I knew we were in trouble. I was like, buddy, what are you doing? Like you have earned no reason to be at piano bar right now. Please go home. Any basketball player can go wherever they want. They brought us joy. If you play for the Purdue football team, you better be sitting at home playing with yourself on college football. You're not going to the bar. You haven't earned that. Okay. So I'm taking my own personal vengeance and using my a little bit of my brain here because I mean I've talked about this Ohio State defense plenty enough, but just simply gifting you, they could even score a touchdown. They could shock me, shot everybody. They score a touchdown, it still wouldn't hit. 8.5 is crazy to me. That's gonna be it. That's gonna be it for me. I'll end my rant, but Purdue football and I have a really love hate relationship, and that'll conclude it for me.
Yeah, but we're here to get winners. So and it sounds like you've got
It's business. It's a business podcast. So
the end of the day. I respect
go
it.
ahead. Go
Eight
ahead.
and a half. I didn't know
Yeah,
that
eight
that
and a
was
half.
our team total, and
Yeah.
it's so sad. Um, Especially being like at home, you'd think that they'd give us a couple more points, maybe like 10, but
The first half is 3.5. That is the over under for the team total points of Purdue is in the first half. Vegas has our line at 3.5.
so the second half
So
was 5 points then?
I guess,
That's
I
yeah.
guess, I guess. I don't know,
I guess,
but
you pick which side of the coin you like. That's crazy. But probably a lock. So, that's it's always a safe bet. You bet against your own team last week with the New York Giants, 49ers, doing it again this week with Purdue not being able to put up points and yeah, there's no way you look at this and this goes well. So, and you can say what you want about Purdue having a history of beating good teams, being the spoiler makers. That's not who we are anymore.
yeah, best sailed people.
That is gone. So, I had faith last year when we played Oregon, and it was the worst mistake I ever made because I stayed at the entire game as we lost something to nothing. So, multiple points.
I don't know when it's going to change. We tried to hire a new coach. Yeah, that didn't work. So
I miss Brom. I gotta
I
say,
miss Braun, man. I don't know what it's gonna take. We got to find our Signetti because we just have done a 180, man, since
yeah,
we were freshmen.
it's been brutal. So I just have two best bets on here. First one, I'm gonna put Mississippi State buying a point, 10.5. So it's at 9.5 right now. I'm moving it up to 10.5 just because, I think it's stupid. Why not just buy the point, and then they can cover a field goal and a touchdown. They're playing Georgia at home. This Mississippi State team is much improved from last year's Mississippi State team. They've played every game close. They've had a bunch of heartbreakers. I'm not saying that they necessarily win this game against Georgia, but Georgia also doesn't necessarily like to blow out opponents unless, of course, it's Kentucky. I think that's the only one that they just consistently have blown out. So I think they're going to keep it close. I think Georgia's going to win again in Kirby Smart fashion, but they actually Mississippi State's head coach Jeff Lebby, I think that's his name, sent out a note in his press conference to the fans saying he wants 60,000 cowbells ringing loud and clear. So that's going to be going on there. Georgia's going to have to play through that. I think Mississippi State keeps it close. I'm going plus 10.5. Then the second one, Alabama LSU. I've got over 49.5. Only way LSU has a chance in this game is offensive fireworks. Alabama's going to put up points. So you got to be able to keep up. That basically means they just have to each get to 24 points, and then someone's got to win the football game. So that's what I'm banking on. I think they can both get to 24, and someone can win the football game, even if, it's 34-17, something like that. It could happen that way. So those are my two best bets. That's all I've got for this week. And luckily for us, Purdue fans, it is basketball season. So it has arrived. The games have begun. Florida and Arizona was an absolute thriller to start the year. What a way to start the college basketball season. Auburn and Bethune-Cookman, another absolute OT thriller for myself to sweat along with. Hell yeah. But we're back. We're back in action. Tomorrow morning, we will be back with college basketball with a very special guest. We like to call him Dr. Locks himself, and I think he is also self-proclaimed.
He's actually, you know what he is? He's a top donor to what's that company called? Oh, DraftKings. He's a top donor. He really puts in their part in making them profit. So, tune in tomorrow morning. He's a great mind, great basketball head. Um, should be a good one.
Passionate kid, though. Passionate kid. Cares.
Passionate kid, cares a ton. Love the drive, love the energy, love the effort. But you know, we'll get into it tomorrow. Let's just say
He'll
that.
be with us tomorrow morning. We're going to be predicting our conference winners and our final four picks. So if you guys love college basketball and you love college sports, make sure you tune in there. If not, there's always college football this weekend. So week 11, we'll get it underway. Best of luck to your picks once again, sir. And
Yes, sir.
let's have ourselves a weekend.
Likewise, sir.
All
Let's
right.
get it.
See you tomorrow morning.
Yes, sir.
Peace.